Welcome to Node Mode, the NFT podcast on digital art. We talk with artists, OG collectors, and reasonably intelligent individuals in the space about all things NFTs. As usual, nothing in this video is financial advice. We're not financial advisors, and the NFT space is risky. So always do your own research. And please hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Today, we're talking the state of the market and predictions for 2023. And I am really excited to have the best dressed person in crypto on the podcast, Signal. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, Node. How are you? I'm so good. Thank you for inviting me to join the show.
An honor, and it is true. It's like sometimes, for those that aren't aware, sometimes Signal and I will like hop on a Google Meet and chat really briefly, and she'll be like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to wear this during the show." And I'm like, "You're already better dressed than any of us every single day." She's wearing like some really nice sweater with the hat on, and I'm like, "Look, you look fantastic." And you're like, "No, this is not my best outfit. I'll make sure I look okay for the show."
Well, as I said, the benchmark in crypto is actually extremely low because you only need to turn up in a hoodie. And then as soon as you step outside that sort of like, spring, summer 2023 hoodie look, it's quite easy just to elevate a little bit, got to step up the game.
Especially with me, you add a little color and right away you've got something going on. So yeah, if you don't wear the hoodie, if you wear something with color on it, you're going to be very well dressed for my show. So
What can I
absolutely.
say? I'm actually sad you're not wearing your Adidas Punk full yellow tracksuit and orange beanie. It's a tear.
I know. I actually forgot. I wore that was it last week or the week before for Zeneca? I wore it for him, and it was great. I should have worn it again because anytime I post pictures of myself looking like an idiot wearing some kind of merch, people love it on Twitter. Like those do really well. And sometimes I wonder if people know that like, okay, I just wear all black every day. I'm very boring, and I would never in a million years wear that Adidas thing out and about, but it's just funny. Like I enjoy the color every once in a while. So
You should do it. You should do it. Break out the Steve Jobs looks, like break out like fashion designer, all noir, and go for it. Let's
yeah,
live our best lives in 2023.
absolutely. This is our year for sure. So, I mean, you are a bit of a mystery Signal. I would call you a semi-doxed individual, I would say, right? Like, we don't really know where you are, but we know that you're in Europe, right? Because you just have to be in Europe. It's just naturally that's where you would be. So, I know that you're in Europe, but instead of asking you all the details of your personal life, how about we do this? I want to know what you were doing in general about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah. Okay. So 5 years ago, let me just get this right. Yeah. I was working in London in the technology sector, working for a startup that every quarter would tell me that they're going to make it. And they never made it. And I ended up leaving that startup, went and traveled the world solo by myself for about 9-10 months, came back to London, and then I just completely decided to change my career, and I decided that I was going to become a blockchain developer. I know it sounds a bit left field, but whatever. I have skipped a few years there, but essentially, this is how I got into NFTs. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to become a developer, but instead of becoming like, a developer that everybody else is at the moment, let's become a blockchain developer. And I knew about blockchain because I knew about Bitcoin, and I obviously kept up with the technology sector. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. So dived into a course. The course was meant to be like face to face, and it was a very intense course. And then the pandemic hit. And in fact, it just went to Zoom and everything was online. And what was really funny about this course, which it gets even better, it was all in French. The whole thing, everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you a fluent French speaker?
So I wasn't before I did that course. And in fact, when I started doing it, I didn't speak for the first 3 months. And the first time I spoke in that class, the teacher said, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I've been here for the last 3 months. I just don't speak or understand French, but I do now."
That is
And
amazing. So you're basically
yeah,
learning 2 languages at the same time. You're learning code
yeah,
and
yeah, I was learning
French.
code and French at the same time. It was like listening to the radio in French from 9 till 5. Did that. That is how I discovered Solidity. That is how I discovered NFTs because they introduced it on the course. And I'd been listening to Kevin Rose at exactly the same time. during that year, and he had been buying punks and talking about them on the podcast, and all these little dots started to connect, and I was like, oh, blockchain, oh, NFTs, oh, punks, oh, things go up in price. And then I basically dove in, red pilled, and have never looked back.
Wow. What a story. I was going to ask, hey, how did you get into all of this? And you just segued perfectly, and you decided to learn like 5 languages at a time in order to do it.
Actually,
So,
it was 5 languages, because you like, they just take you from, your basic HTML, CSS. You're like, oh yeah, this is easy. And then you're like, wait, Solidity? What?
yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you learned multiple coding languages. So do you still do any coding now, or are you mostly just enjoying working at the Nifty?
I started off doing coding, and I was doing that, what was that, 2020. So yeah, so 2020, half of like 2021, and then really dug into NFTs full time, and it was just taking all my attention. And so I decided just to move away from coding, because I was enjoying flipping and trading so much more.
It's too much fun. Like, it's very much I used to think that NFTs were kind of a means to an end, and now I really do think they're kind of like the end in and of itself. Like, that it's the end state of crypto, is so many things are going to be NFTs. And like everything, like even ETH, I love Ethereum and everything's being built on there. But I really do think, like, hey, if Ethereum's best use case is NFTs, I'm a happy camper, and I think it's going to go that direction for sure. So amazing story. So everyone obviously knows you're on the morning show. You have tons of good takes. So I wanted to get your feedback and think about what's happening right now. So I mean, right now in the market, it's January 5th, 2023. We've got a lot of action going on. This is People are calling it a mini bull run. We're all afraid to call it like a big bull run, so we'll call it a little one. But what is your general take on what's happening right now at the beginning of 2023?
So this year's been really interesting. Sort of end of this year going into 2023 has been really interesting. So November, December obviously was a horrible time in the market. It was just doldrums, it was so boring. Obviously, December was a huge tax loss harvesting period for the market, and then we've gone into this, what they've been calling this Santa rally. There's sort of like a confluence of different factors here. You've got blur farming going on. You've got that tax loss harvesting is finishing. You've got that all the projects are deciding to essentially release their key milestones now and going into sort of January, February. So obviously you've got the trial of Jimmy the Monkey happening. So that sparked a lot of sort of liquidity in the market and momentum. And then you've also got the fact that people are coming back, and it's showing in the data when you look at the number of active wallets, which are not new wallets, but wallets which have already bought and are now buying again. So you have this beautiful, like, perfect storm and confluence of sort of key project milestones, people coming back, post tax loss harvesting, blur, and then this liquidity sloshing around. So the market at the moment is probably the most active that we've seen it, and we're seeing essentially every single project pump. The question is, how long do these pumps sustain? And will these projects, which have pumped to new highs, actually be able to sustain this momentum after mid-January and at the end of January, once the blur airdrop has finished?
Yeah, I totally agree. And what's your take? Like, do you think that February we are able to continue some momentum, or do you think that things cool off a little bit?
So historically, once you've had these sort of like key Yuga mints that have happened, the market has cooled off afterwards. But I think we're actually going to we're not going to pull back to say 5 million, 5 million in volume where we were sort of November time. I can see us sort of ranging between like 7 to 10 for February. And then I think March is going to be some of like probably a bit of a slowdown. And then April and May is going to be big because of the conferences. And you always see an upward tick in the conferences around pre and post, either because people are buying assets to go to events, or because people come back for those events and then become very bullish. And where is a precedent for this? If you look at, say, Art Basel Miami, you saw people coming back super bullish on Pudgies. Pudgies have pumped. You saw people coming super bullish on Art Blocks. Art Blocks has pumped. So you have these sort of like post conference pumped, and then that will take us into sort of the January, March, April. Yeah, so that would be like mid Q2. So we could hold this pattern for up until around May, I think.
I like that. That's good insight, and it actually makes me a little bit more confident in the market the way that you've outlined it. I forget, when is the Bored Ape Yacht Club's next mint? Did they put out a date, or do we just have like a general?
Well, is it 18th? I think it's 18th of January is when the big mint is, like around then.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we do, like, that's coming up. So in a couple weeks, it feels like we might get a good amount of heat up until then, and then see what happens, right? Those tend to suck a lot of liquidity out of the market. The last time I said that, when Other Deeds was about to come out, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, hey, this might, suck the liquidity out of the market. And PO made fun of me. And then, like, that was the beginning of the bear, right? So, yeah.
Of the end, literally.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. That, it was like, I still remember about a year ago, or maybe even a little less than that, Keyboard Monkey. I think Keyboard Monkey and maybe DC Investor, they both said something to the effect that, like, you've got about 4 weeks to sell off your PFPs. And I did not listen. It's like an insane, I wish I had, like, because everything was up at that point. Zukis were like 40, mutants were, it's like, if your PFP wasn't 100K, like, it was just not interesting. You're like, okay, that one's, and now I'm like, hey, my Moonbird is almost 10K again, like, this is awesome. So still a big fan of Hoot Hoot. Let's go. We do have a good question here from Osage, I think, or Osage, however you say it. Do you think the Blur airdrop will have some Bonk sympathy? So I think what they're trying to say is, will it be similar, right, to to Bonk? What are your thoughts on that?
So historically, airdrops have done pretty well for people who've participated, but they don't sustain. That's the
Yeah.
thing. So whether it was SOS, whether it was ENS, what else have we? Rare token. All of these tokens come in, they drop, they have momentum for about up to a week, and then they disappear, and they don't ever seem to come back from the dead. The way this has been structured, what a Blur have proved with Art Gobblers, with the platform, with what they're building out, the fact that it's been backed by Paradigm, they probably have some tricks up their sleeves so the token doesn't go to zero. But it's a gamble. It's a high, like, on the spectrum of, if there were such a spectrum, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Pudgy Penguins, SOS, Looks Rare, Blur token, you're probably going towards the high risk when you start to hold those types of tokens for the long term. So you kind of have to have a sell by date in your head.
I totally agree. Mike DeFi says, get your Blur, sell 80% of it, and ride the rest. We're not financial advisors, but Mike DeFi, he just might be. And I would listen to that guy. That's honestly what I'm probably going to do. I'll plan on doing something very similar to that. The thing with airdrops is, like, if you get it, it's free. If you make a decent bag, just sell it, right? Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, you made your money. That's, congratulations. And okay, maybe you miss out on some crazy 10X, but guess what? You automatically got a 10X because it was at zero. Before you got it, you had nothing, and now it's worth something. So I sold my Bonk airdrop and made $80 and was like, hey, cool. I, can go eat lunch today and tomorrow. And, as Kix would say, could go get my oil changed if I could get my car to start. That would be also awesome. But I agree with your sentiment on that airdrop. And I also agree that I think Blur has more potential, I would say, than any of the previous coins that have been dropped from marketplaces like this. With the exception being Looks Rare. I think it's got more legs than Looks Rare does, but Looks Rare launched at the perfect time in the market and got like an insane market cap. So in terms of running up, I don't think we can necessarily like compare to what Looks Rare did in terms of, hey, will the market cap get super high? I think we need a bull market for that. But I do think that we'll see. Blur's got some legs. I agree with you there. So okay, I feel like there's a bunch of themes going on right now. One is what I'll call the crypto Twitter projects, the CT projects, or the cute PFPs, right? So we got like Pudgy Penguins, Sappy Seals, whatever else there are. There's a bunch there that have kind of they weren't doing well for a long time, and now they're crushing it. Do you feel like there's been a crossover now? Like, are those now NFT projects? I mean, they are NFT projects, of course, but is the NFT community now like fully on board with Pudgies and with Sappy Seals? Or do you still feel like there's a little bifurcation between traditional crypto Twitter people that like those projects and even like Campai Pandas? That's another one that was, I think a traditional, more CT focused traders. They got in on that project. Do you feel like we're starting to all merge together now, or do you think this is a little bit separate still?
No, I think we're starting to merge together now because what's interesting is that crypto's just been ranging for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Especially since we haven't had any sort of Fed news because the last meeting was a while ago. And NFTs do well in a ranging environment. And because of that, it's actually been more interesting to trade NFTs than it has been to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. And then what Crypto Kaleo was saying this morning, essentially about altcoins and shitcoins at the moment, really not having a huge amount of momentum. So the best place to be quote unquote investing at the moment and trading is actually NFTs. So I think that's could be one of the reasons why we're also seeing these sort of CT projects like Pudgies, etc., continue to pump as probably some of that money rotates in.
Yeah, even like Lil Pudgies is interesting to me because I don't know how much a project, like how big do you have to be before your little mascot can start to like do well. And I think Pudgies is right on the border there. And it like, look, it's trading at probably what, about a tenth. 1/10 is like a decent ratio, I would say, between your mascot, what I'll call it, and your main collection. But these have ripped. These have tripled in the last since Art Basel. I remember we were talking about this on the morning show. Then these have tripled since then. And then even like Campai Pandas, which I never paid attention to at all. And I think they held like big parties and stuff or whatever. I believe Keyboard Monkey is even involved in that one. But like that one's already at 1.7 ETH, which I don't know if they had ever broken one for the longest time. So impressive there. I'm also seeing like I'm a big fan of Wrecked Guy. I think that's a good. Do you own any of these, by the way?
I guess I do. I do own
Nice.
them. Wrecked Guy is probably one of my favorite plays. I can get into it why if you want me
Yes,
to.
please do.
Um, so OSF and Mando, like super nice guys, British. They worked at Barclays and Goldman Sachs. They were trading very much illiquid assets at the time. And when they came into NFTs, they saw a lot of parallels between what they were trading at work and then trading at work and then when they started trading NFTs. And it's famously known that when Bored Apes minted OSF and both Mando minted a whole ton of them, and then OSF ended up selling his like gold ape when it was like 5 ETH or something. It could even have been less than that. I can't quite remember the number, but it's a famous story that he tells. And then they have Canary Labs. They have a fund, and so they were buying art like Ferocious One of Ones, lots of apes. They were really picking up the good stuff of 2021. And then they launched Degens at sort of the peak of the bull run. Degens essentially went to zero. It didn't do very well as a collection. And, the guys basically felt like we have to do right by the community. We actually have to build something. We can't just let Degens go to zero. So they converted the former art into Degens, what you're seeing now, this Mint Pass, and they created this community. And essentially, if you're in a Degens community, I own one of these. It's all about the markets, what's happening. They have these great reports, etc. Whilst all of this was happening at the same time, OSF has always been an artist. He was an artist when he was much younger. He stopped when he went to university, and then sort of picked it up when he was working in the city. And when he discovered NFTs, he drew this little like GM, little Wrecked Guy. He drew it and it sold like magic. Woo, 1 ETH gone. Wow. And he's like, whoa, what is this? So he starts drawing more stuff, thinking, he's found the secret to internet money. And that basically sparks off his digital art career again. He really goes back into it. And so you know, today OSF and Mando have gone on to become, you know, top Twitter space hosts. OSF as an artist has, you know, he's grown so much. RLD, Red Light District, I think when he dropped it, and at the time someone mentioned it to me, it was like 1 ETH. That's now at maybe like an 18 ETH floor. You're seeing that he's part of the Rare Pass, the super rare pass mint, the one with the 250 passes. He's one of the artists featured there. He's either Christie's or Sotheby's, can't quite remember. His work went to the NFT rare digital collection. He was one of the few collections where you saw that the final bid was above estimation. As a community, they attract huge whales. They attract Anonymous, Mooncat. There's
They got
another,
Ro Paul in there,
yeah,
you know?
Paul, Snoop Dogg. Like, you know, you're seeing the story of Rect and what it stands for now sort of spreading to the market, and people understand what, you know, what that really means, having been in 2022. I can see this going over to CT in a way that Pudgies have come over to NFT and live in crypto. I can see Rect going over to CT and very much attracting that kind of money. They throw a great events at NFT NYC and NFT London. And I think the two lads have got an amazing 2023 coming up. And I expect Rect Guy to go up and the other assets in that ecosystem to sort of follow suit. Not quite as strong, but still will have upside.
Absolutely. The other thing I like about it too is the Degen's Access Pass. I think I have 2 of those. And so like they've done regular airdrops, right? So they airdrop the tabs TABZ to the community. Those are 0.25 ETH right now. So that you actually saw a pump up in Degens right before that happened, and now they dropped all the way back down because of that, right? But hey, you have another asset that's worth that. And I think for me, it comes down to the exact same thesis that I have for a few different collections, right? So, I mean, one is Nifty, shout out, number one. It's like, look, what projects are building communities first, and then, you know, launching PFPs and launching NFTs afterwards, right? So that would be, in my opinion, you've got the Nifty portal, you've got Zeneca, who I own. Well, I owned like over 20, and now I just sold a few just to kind of sell into some strength, but I've got still like 16 of those. And then you've got the Rect Guy ecosystem, right? And Mando and OSF. My question on that one is, what do you feel like? I'm starting to get a little bit confused at their ecosystem, only because so you've got Rug Radio, which they're part of. So you've got like the Rug Pass, and then you've got like there's like an original Rug Pass. You've got like the membership pass, and then you've got the Rect Guy, which is not, you know, necessarily associated, but it's a PFP from those guys, right? And then you've got the Degen's Access Pass, which is kind of still part of their community. And then they're going to release PFPs from Rug Radio from Corey Van Loo, which I think is interesting because now it almost feels like they're going to start cannibalizing themselves. Like, okay, if you're a fan of these guys, do you rep a Rect Guy or do you rep a Corey Van Loo, right? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So like in my head, they're two separate communities. So, you know,
Okay.
Rug Radio is Farouk, and everything there is representative in the PFP with Corey Van Loo, and you got the Rug Radio NFTs and the tokens there. And then you've got what essentially OSF and Mando are building, which is Canary Labs and everything that lives there. So Rect Guy, Degen's Pass, Alien Queen. I kind of look at them as two separate ecosystems, even though those three as a trio work very well together and host the morning spaces as well. But I think separately, I see them as separate NFTs.
That makes sense. I think that makes sense. That's true, right? Just because they're obviously, like, I'm sure they're partners or whatever on Rug Radio. They're hosts on that show all the time, but it is a separate entity. So yeah, I'm still curious to see how it shakes out, right? Because you probably have a lot of people in the Rug Radio community that are sporting Rect Guys, right? And then what do you do when the Corey Van Loo PFP drops? I'll be interested to see what exactly happens there, for sure. We got some people in the comments here. Oh yeah, the Portal X copy PFP, that would be epic. I don't know I have no idea who the artist is for the PFP, FYI, but I can promise you it won't be X copy, because even if it was, that would be bearish for X copy. Like, why would he not because of the brand association, although that would be too, let's be honest. Sorry guys, but like the idea of him doing a PFP collection of like 8 to 10K, like it's just kind of is not helpful for his brand. And
Yeah.
so although that would be epic, sorry, Ellie, I don't see it happening. It's just, as much as we want it to, I think that's wishful thinking for sure. Okay, so I want to hop over to kind of like we talked about kind of the cute PFP meta, the CT projects that have been kind of coming over. Now I want to go into one of my favorite subjects, not art. We're not there yet, but I want to talk about the blue chip PFPs, and not including punks and apes, because those are the real only blue chips. But like the rest of the market that has been forever trying to be who's number 3 through 6 or whatever. We've got a lot of, we got a Zuki, we've got Moonbirds, Doodles, Clonex. What are your thoughts for these projects? Because these have been around long enough to where they're very regularly talked about. They've gone through like what I call the cool cats problem, which is you have to deliver something at some point, and then the people decide if it's really worth that much money. And so everyone's kind of gone through their first year making it through. What do you see now for this year for any of these 4 projects, in terms of the outlook that you see for whether it's Azuki, Moonbirds, Clonex, Doodles, all the above?
Yeah. So those names that you mentioned, they sit in an interesting category. Probably quite high risk in terms of the execution that they need to do this year.
Mm,
Some of those names need to work a lot harder than others. I would say Clonex faced some serious FUD last year towards the end. I think
yeah.
essentially as well, the direction they've been going with their mints has very much been sort of like, this is merchandise that we have, and because you're a Clonex holder, you will get to buy it first, and at this special sort of discounted price of only a few $1,000s. But
Yeah.
it look, basically up into Q4, Clonex was sitting around, I think, sort of like 7, 8 ETH, and then what happened with the last mint sort of set their floor price tumbling down. I think they have a pretty steep hill to climb this year. But given the caliber of talent, the team, their experience, the fact that they sit with Nike, I wouldn't underestimate that this could be a comeback story later on in the year.
That's interesting. Yeah, you simultaneously made me excited and not excited about them, which is good. That's a good response, right? Because I used to think, hey, we're going into a bear market. Who better to trust than someone that is backed by Nike, right? But as we've seen, as they've executed, it's like, man, that's a whole lot of unrealized expectations, and we're turning into very much consumers. Which, look, we know that we are. If you're buying an NFT, you're a consumer, by the way. But like, we want to feel like we're more, and the really amazing projects care about the floor price. Like we say that we don't care, but it's like you do well by your holders to try and focus on them, right, and give value to them. And when you keep asking them to keep buying things, that to me is a little bit of a challenge. So and the fact that this is a 20K collection, right? I think it's 20K. Yeah, almost 20,000 in the collection. There are 20,000. I think the other remainder that you don't see are in vial form still. But like, that's that actually, if they were a 10K collection, would be at a 12 ETH floor. Which,
Yeah.
when I think about it that way, I think that's a little bit rich for me still, right? Like, for what they're actually doing and giving to the community at this stage. I don't know. So I'm a little bit. I think I'm with you. I think they can make a comeback, but the problem is that we already have such high expectations because we know that it's Nike backed, that I wonder how much is still built in now, right? If Kaleo was here and looking at this chart, this is probably not a bullish chart. Would be my
Price goes down.
price
Yeah.
go down. You got lower highs and lower lows. That's like all I remember. I've like, unfortunately never really tried to learn charting, but like, the more you just see them all the time on crypto,
It's a bad chart when it does this.
Yeah, so if it goes like this and then it tries to go back up, but it doesn't go up as high, and then it goes even lower, there you go. There's some TA analysis for you right there. But like, okay, so Clonex, I like your thoughts there. What about Doodles?
Oh, Doodles. I feel like Doodles community or leadership have this chip on their shoulder where they feel like they don't need to respond back. Okay, Bored Ape Yacht Club set a precedent, and a very, very rare precedent, where they caught lightning in a bottle in so many different ways. One of those ways was that you don't need to talk to your community and we will surprise you. We'll just drop money into your wallet and everything is okay, right? And that has worked for that community. It has done extremely well. I have seen other communities, and this is not just Doodles, I've been part of other communities where leadership tries to replicate the same type of communication and sort of PR and relationship with the community as Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it doesn't work. The community gets so frustrated. You go into the comments, they're like, so and so's never in here, they never tell us anything, and they want to hear something, because if the floor price is not going up and no one is speaking, that's very bad. Bored Ape Yacht Club didn't speak, but the price went up, and those are two completely different situations. I feel like Doodle suffers from this a bit, whereby they feel like they don't need to sort of communicate on Twitter so much about what they're doing. Genesis boxes, duplicators, they sat there as boxes for so long before the community was actually told this is what's going to happen, and it's only recently in December that they were actually given dates. But saying that, look at that floor price. Even against all that sort of adversity, they still are been holding this sort of very high 6, 7 ETH floor. And
they're coming up on 8 ETH already. Wow.
8 ETH, wow. And so I think, what they're cooking there, the relationships that they have, obviously Pharrell being involved, there is a very, very strong group of people who believe Doodles is GMI. And unless they make a huge fumble this year, I see the Doodle community, staying. I don't see them going away in 2023.
And I think they have like the best brand ability in my, like they have the best, most universal art that can go like worldwide, in my opinion, and kind of can cross all sorts of barriers and like demographics. So I'm rooting for Doodles as well. Like in terms of the execution, yeah, maybe who knows what happens, but I like that take. I think Moonbirds, I mean, we both have Moonbirds as our PFPs, so I don't know how much we should or could talk about it, but like my take is like, look, I like Kevin Rose, and I love everything that they're all about. And I also like the people that are into the community, like that are Moonbirds. Like, look, I have a mutant ape, and shout out to all the apes out there. You guys are great. But I'm not like part of your people, like I don't just go out and smoke weed in my hoodie every day, and I'm like a dad. I have 3 kids. Like I am interested in entrepreneurship and building things and stuff. So, not to say that apes aren't motivated. There's plenty of really quality apes out there, but like, I just feel like I fit in really well with the Moonbirds community. But yeah, what's your take there?
So Moonbirds, yeah, obviously a holder one. So take this with a pinch of salt. But they face serious execution risk in the same way that Doodles, and yeah, I would say probably on par with Doodles as well. They came out the gate strong. God, do you remember that? Do you remember that mint 2.5? Everyone was like nervous. Did I make?
It was insane. Yeah.
Did you have 2.5 ETH, first of all, because it just had to sit in your wallet, and many people were so annoyed about that. Secondly, it came out the gate strong. That's probably one of my favorite mints of the entire year. But then, unfortunately, CCO, wow, did that just completely destroyed so much goodwill that was sitting in that community. And because of that, you can see Kevin Rose has sort of taken a step back, and he's been very, very safe this year. What has been interesting is that, just yesterday, in fact, in the Discord, he said that they're not going to play 2023 safe anymore. Like, he's like, yes, we made the mistake with CCO, but we're not playing safe. We have a war chest and we're going to use it. They have some very key inflection points this year, and it will be telling as to how the community responds to it. So they've obviously got oddities, Mythics. They've got the Proof Conference, which is going to be so key for them. And they've got potentially the social token coming out as well. That, depending where the market is at the time will depend on, how that token actually performs and the utility to that token as well. But yeah, there's execution risk there. But I like that Kevin Rose is coming out and saying, this is not a slow rug. We're actually going to do something this year. And if they can pull this off in Q1, sort of like, I'd say Q2, Q1, there is upside, because currently, I mean, they've done incredible. Look, so Moonbirds normally sits around sort of like 7 ETH, and it's currently above 9. And the reason why it's at 9.6 is because Kevin Rose is going to be at CES tomorrow, and apparently he's getting on stage with some announcement. Now, when you see CES, people start thinking, is it Sony? Is it Apple? Is it Samsung? Like, who is it? I have no idea what this announcement is going to be, but the market has moved on this news, and hopefully this is the beginning of Kevin Rose being a little bit more aggressive and bringing some of that dig energy that he had all those years back and making Moonbirds hoot hoot.
I love the sound effect there right at the end.
Thank
For sure. You heard it here first. Signal just said that Moonbirds are doing a collab with Apple. That's what I heard. So let's make sure. Let's make sure. Just kidding. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so the final one and the biggie is as should be. This is an amazing story. Is a Zuki here in terms of the mid-tier blue chips. Tell me your thoughts here.
I was going to say, if Zuki had a soundtrack, it would be da-na-da, da-na-da. It would be like, yeah. Like, Zuki is the comeback kid. What a year they have had. It was like Zagabond held onto that throne, like Game of Thrones, just not leaving.
He did.
Throne. He's like, you have to kill me to get me off it. But, kudos to this team. You, Spencer, have probably been like the loudest, strongest advocates of Zuki. I remember when you came back from NFT NYC, you were going on about that party. At that time, I think Beans had gone, actually, I can't remember the price, but obviously everybody knows that at some point Beans were at 0.6. Azuki's fell to like sub 7. It was a bloodbath. And the resilience of that community, what they have shown, and just so distinct from the rest of the space. Like, now I really start to understand what you and Spencer were talking about, where you're like, it's a completely different community that have quite a lot of people from from Asia who are their holders. Their whales also come from Asia as well. So it's just a completely different network. So I'm like, yeah, go Zuki. Zagabond has just taken that FUD and he's just like, I'm going to kill them with my success. I cheer for them. I cheer for Zuki. Well done.
I love it. The one thing that I think so many people don't get, they're like, well, what have they delivered on? Well, dude, what has any, project delivered on? They'll launch new things. They do interesting things. The key point for me with Zuki is my biggest thesis behind PFPs is, do you want it as a PFP? Which means, do you want it as your digital identity? And they have crafted a brand that is so desirable for a lot of people, and especially their demographic. And there's just a very strong community here that is kind of separate, which is great. So I'm a fan. I'm excited to see where things go. I obviously regret, I panic sold my Azuki right in the middle of all the Zagabond drama, and it was mostly NFT Nick's fault. I haven't told him this yet, but it was because they kept holding these spaces, and you know what did it? It was when Zagabond jumped on a space and then just totally fumbled the ball, and everyone was like, dude. And I was like, I was going to hold, and I was like, I don't want to deal with the drama. I just can't deal with the drama anymore. I'm still way up, I don't know if I was way up. I was over double. So great, but in ETH terms, but I didn't want to deal with it, but I still liked the brand. Right. And so I wish that I had gotten in, and now they're absolutely slaying it. I put out a poll on Twitter about 6 months ago about which of these 4 projects were going to go would die in the next year. and the one that everyone chose was a Zuki. Everyone thought that Zuki was the one that would be the lowest or would be the one most likely to fade away. And here they are, totally, absolutely smashing it and destroying everybody. So I love that. Let's see. We'll do a little education here because we got like a right click save as guy on here. Good old JD. Serious question. Why would you pay for a CCO image? Any thoughts there, Sig? Like, I guess here's what I'll tell you, JD. Like, first off, we're not really buying the image, right? Like, we're interested in this community behind it, right? And so it's never been about the image itself. I think with PFPs, it's which one do you want as your digital identity. So in a way, yes, the image matters. Absolutely do love the art. But at the same time, dude, nobody's going out there and, there might be like 4 people that can go out and license their ape and make like great money. But like, who cares? There's no, like, none of us are going to enforce our rights behind an image. Like, it's just so hard. And to me, it's not worth it. I actually like that Moonbirds did the CCO move. Like, I think it was a good call from a just like not having to do with rights standpoint. I think it was a mistake in the fact that they just didn't start out with that. Like, that was clearly a mistake to just totally switch the rights the way that they worked. But like, the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, great. All of X Copy's work is CCO, by the way. So the top artist in all of NFTs, the OG, all of his work is CCO, and it's worth the most, out of any other. I think the highest sales have been X Copy sales, like 6 million, 7 million, like crazy amounts. So that's just my thought, JD. You have any further thoughts there, Signal?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why JD's asking this because at the beginning, I didn't really understand CCO. It took me a while to wrap my head around it. But when you think about, open systems versus closed system, if you have a closed system whereby something doesn't allow for CCO, it means that essentially all the leadership, all the execution, all the power of brand has to be built by a very small, like, well, not very small, but by, a small team of executioners. And they have to deliver that power of the story of why this is a community that you want to join. When something becomes CCO, it becomes an open system. You can essentially put the hands of the brand, the IP into the world, and anyone can come and pick it up and remix it and do anything they want with it. And that is extremely powerful. Now, most people will be like, yeah, but what happens when the KKK come along and, use that CCO image? It's very unlikely that a sort of bad actor is going to come along and use a CCO image. It's much more likely you're going to have sort of positive use cases for it. And then it's out there in the public domain for anyone to go and make memes, for anyone to go and, put on, create lore, create story, just add their version of creativity to it. And I think CCO adds value in a way whereby right now it's very difficult to see that value because we're only sort of 6 months, 1 year into it. But I think the NFT leaders and communities that lean into it and at the same time continue to execute will actually be the ones who heavily, heavily benefit from CCO in the future. It's sort of like having, a library of code, Unix, for example, versus, the Apple system, which is completely closed. It takes a while for this stuff to play out, but in the end, Unix is sort of more widely adopted.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, just because your image is protected, it doesn't mean that some terrorist group isn't going to use it anyway, right? It's like there is no real protection. It's just, are you willing to enforce it? And you're really only protecting yourself against like some huge brand and then being able to get a bunch of money from them, which, look, they're just not going to do it. Like, they're not going to care. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So, okay, I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is art. Let's do it. You got a little bit of art behind you. Everyone, look at Signal's background there. Let's give a shout out to that artist. I forget her name. Tell me about it because I like
can't remember her name. That's
oh my gosh, put you on the spot.
I know. It's so bad.
Okay, but tell the story at least because this is cool.
Yeah, this is a girl who was a banker in London. She was very, very good at her career, and she was also an artist at the same time. And she decided to give up her high-powered banking career to become an artist. And this is one of the pieces that she did. And I bought it from her so that I could essentially support her and just show her that whilst I can't pay a banker's salary for her piece, I can definitely show support, and that she has talent, and it has followed me for years and years and years.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so moving on to the digital side of things, I gotta say, like looking at the friendship bracelets it just continues to surprise me. Like I bottom sold most of mine at 0.05. Like that is hilarious. Now they're at 0.5 almost. What do you think about generative art or just art in general in terms of the trend for the next little while?
I mean, friendship bracelets. I'm finding it difficult to wrap my head around this 30K supply and this price, but I know we're obviously coming up to the end of the mint for these. So you're starting to see people collect them. You're starting to see, people want a cheaper version of owning art blocks. Yeah, I don't know how far these are going to run, but they're doing extremely well in terms of generative art. And what will happen this year, I think art blocks will go on to solidify Snowfro, and the art blocks team will go on to solidify art blocks as the number one generative platform, and they're going to do that other brands. So you saw what he did with G Money and 9DCC. So it was the Chromey Squiggle algorithm that was used to generate those 9DCC t-shirts. I think
Yeah.
you're going to see more of that happening, and I think you're going to see it with bigger brands that we know. So I'm very excited to see where AB goes this year, what Snowfro decides to do, and where the Chromey Squiggle floor ends up. Because, I mean, we're now approaching sort of pre-FTX levels. Just before FTX, these were close to 20. I can see them going back there very soon. Where they end at the end of the year could be significantly higher. I still think this is potentially undervalued.
Yeah, one of my biggest regrets is paper handing one of these. They
Yeah.
used to have, I said this over and over, I just have to share it, but it was so annoying because there's like one person I think one person owns like 10 to 15% of the entire supply. So there's big whales in this project. And before, like a year ago, anytime Squiggles would pump, there would be this crazy sell off. And I think from the whales, they just keep selling into all the strength. So the price was like always artificially pushed down below 10, and I just got sick of being stuck in that game. And now apparently most of that selling is done, so now you've got Chromey Squiggles at a 16 ETH floor. And when Zeneca was on the pod, he basically said Squiggles are the crypto punks of generative art. And I was like, okay, I'm so stupid. I wish I owned a bunch, and I own zero now. I'll agree with you. I think these go to 20 to 30 ETH, like no problem at some point. But yeah, man, this has just been painful. We got a good question from Luck at the Dice. What do you think about Grant Yun and the minimalist movement? I don't know what those other words are there after that. Maybe those are artists, but I'm not that fancy. But I will say, I was Grant Yun. I think I don't know if you mentioned this this morning, Sig. No, but Grant Yun, one of his pieces, it's an early works piece. He has a collection called Early Works. And I actually ought to see if I can bring it up here. Actually, I know that I can because I was just looking at it. This piece here is 25 ETH. And it's being sold by Nathan Head, he's been around on Twitter for a while. I like that guy. But this is like one of his early pieces that's for sale on secondary at 25 ETH. And I've been asking around if anybody wants to go in on this with me. His current pieces, he has one piece currently that already has a 50 ETH bid, his orange citrus piece or whatever he's calling it. And so I'm like, this could be an interesting play. I don't like this, like his early work. I don't like it as much from a visual standpoint as his current, like what he's doing now. But I think I don't know about like the overall neo-precisionism and minimalist movement like in general, but I do know that I think that Grant Yun owns it. Like I think you think of something that's simple and very clean like this, and you look at some of Grant, you see a piece of Grant Yoon's work, you see anything that even looks remotely similar to this, and you're like, Grant Yoon, like that's what you think. So I'm bullish on Grant Yoon. I don't know about the overall like art style in general. I kind of think I like Grant Yoon like because he owns this category in my opinion, just like I like Xcopy because he owns glitch art. You know, hopefully there's lots of great artists and they can all have, you know, be in that style. But I like the people that kind of own the space, if you know what I mean. But you have any thoughts on that, Sig?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You always want to own the artist who owns that niche. So,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Grant Yun, he owns this, Xcopy owns glitch art. So a couple of interesting things are happening right now. So for the last 2 years, we've had the same artist names constantly being repeated. So if there's a collab, it's this artist who we all know who is being stuck on it as sort of the artist that is going to sell out that particular collab. And it's about, sort of top 10 to 15 names, which are recycled all the time. Stuff that you own, Node, and names that we see in the space. I think what's interesting about 2023 is we're going to start to see a new class of artists come through. So if you feel bad that you missed out on Xcopy, think of Xcopy now as the godfather. He's the godfather. He's the grandfather of glitch art. But who is going to be sort of the next one to come in who will do something new to glitch art? Who will be the next artist that comes in who dominates AI but isn't from the class of 2019? I think in 2023 we're going to start to see more breakout names. Names that perhaps we've never heard of. I would put maybe Grant Yun in this because some of his work was literally at 1 ETH, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, because I remember that's when NFT God got into one of his pieces. It was around 1.4 ETH that he got into it. And I think some of those names will be people that we know in the space. People who hang out in Discords, for example, in the Nifty Portal Discord. There's some incredible up and coming talent. And this is a very interesting time to start, assessing them. Are they a good brand? Do they have good art? What is, how are they building a community? What are their socials? How active are they? Is their art the kind of art that could be in a museum in the next, 2 to 3 years or 4 years? Like these are some of the criteria that you start to look at when you're looking at potentially emerging artists, because there will be names mentioned at the end of this year that we're not talking about today. And these will be the breakout stars this year. So that's one of my predictions. There's going to be a breakout star in a Discord that we know.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Shout out to Rust. We're getting a lot of people shouting out Rust in the comments. We did an artist spotlight on him. Really like your work. I mentioned this artist on the Nifty the other morning. This is Terrell Dom, or Terrell Jones is his name. And yeah, there's something like when I first saw this piece, I was like, made me stop and think for a second. I was like, this actually seems pretty cool. Like seems kind of like you can envision this being kind of iconic. So I was like, look, a few people have DM'd me about this guy. I'm going to look into it. Went and bought one at 0.2, like a couple weeks ago, not very long ago, on like right around Christmas. And dude, his whole collection has just rallied hard. Who knows if we're at a local peak or not, but shout out to Terrell Jones because I really like his work, so, sorry, I just pumped my own bag here. I only got one of these though. So, seems kind of fair. We got a lot of people asking about, we talked about Rust a little bit. Lots of people shouting him out in the comments.
Rust has an amazing piece that he dropped this week. His open, so it's his,
what was it called?
It's called Glitch Dealer.
Yeah, Glitch Dealer. That's right.
So I interviewed Rust in December. Really, really nice guy. Absolutely, he's a member of the Nifty Portal, and he has his 480 collection. So what he's been doing for the last sort of 177 days is he drops these one of ones, and he has an amazing one for NFT God. I saw it the other day. It was like absolutely super in the collection. So he drops these ones of ones, and then I happened to be on Twitter and I saw his tweet, and he was like, "I've just dropped my open edition. It's limited.
I totally missed this. I'm so
mad. There's like 40 or something of them.
Yeah, 42.
And yeah, so he's dropped them, and he's basically doing this OSF mechanic whereby you own Glitch Dealer, and thereby you're going to get a monthly art from him. And I remember when OSF did this, it was Red Light District, and somebody told me about it at 1 ETH, and I just, whatever, didn't buy it. And Rust, I've spoken to him. I like him as an individual. When I saw Glitch Dealer, this piece, I was like, this is cool. Like this is really, really good. Just, I love, you have the dealer sort of in that frame. You've got an audience looking at him. Also, when you go to his 480 collection and you actually look through it, you can actually see him improving as an artist over time. And then, everybody in Nifty Portal likes him as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to support Rust. I like Glitch Dealer. And so I got it. And I'm very happy with my purchase. So Rust is one of my 2023 potential breakout stars.
I love it. Yeah, I've got one of his pieces here. And I know I actually made it in the description of one of his pieces as well. I'm pretty
you're in the
stoked on that.
metadata.
I'm one of I don't know if I'm like the actual name or just like the description, but it was I think my quote was something like, if you think I'm rich, you need to dream bigger dreams. Because I'm like, dude, I mean, all my money is in like NFTs, guys. So just in case you're wondering, I'm not like, all my money is in NFTs. So let's just put it that way. But yeah, big fan of Rust. Okay, man, we have had a ton of fun. We gotta do some predictions here. I feel like there's so much that I could keep talking to you about. We have more questions that we can answer in the comments too, but like, let's do some predictions. So
Okay.
end of 2023, give me a few just really broad thoughts that you have in terms of predictions, and then maybe we'll get into some specific numbers.
Okay, I'm going to go. One of these communities is going to come for me. End of 2023, Polygon over Solana.
Oh, snap. Okay.
I said it. Look, Polygon, they're not playing around. They're not playing around. They're coming this year. They're learning, and you can't underestimate that team. Solana as well, obviously in an incredible community. Extremely resilient. I see these two going toe to toe. So I'm gonna say Polygon because they're the underdog right now, and I like supporting underdogs.
We got Easy in the show. What up, Easy? Get out of here.
God, oh, what?
Easy. Look, you know that I don't swear, Easy, so I'm not going to show your comments that are swearing at us, okay? I thought we were friends. He's talking to Signal. He's taking this one personal. Boom. I love it.
Easy. Like, hard. I think of you like Polygon and Solana as two titans coming together. This is not like one is worse than the other. This is just, who trained harder in 2023. So coming up.
Yeah, and Solana was busy, eating off of the teat of SBF, and then the big daddy left. Those gross. That guy's out of here. and then Polygon, they had to be just hustling the whole time. So
yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah. Easy says my take is DeFi will go insane on Solana in 2023.
Ooh,
well,
good.
Easy, I sure hope that they come up with a better with better tokenomics this time around, because basically I think for the last couple of years, if you got in on DeFi on Solana, like the VCs just totally took advantage of you and ate your lunch. So hopefully there's a lot less predatory behavior. And the one thing, Easy, I will say while we're busy dunking on Easy, is with Solana, I understand the chain doesn't go down that often, but like, dude, in DeFi, the chain cannot go down. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, the chain just can't like shut off when you've got like positions and margin and like loans and like all sorts of things. Like, dude, the chain's got to keep running. And so I actually think Solana is great. I think they're going to succeed. I do not think that DeFi is I think the future's on ETH, dude. Sorry, bro. I think the future's on ETH when it comes to DeFi. But oh yeah, he's shouting out Bonk token. Okay, let's see where Bonk is in a year. My prediction is it's gone, but I could be totally wrong, and I hope that I am, Easy, because I want you to be very successful and make a bank. Okay, next prediction, Sig. What do we got?
Next prediction. Okay, this is a bit of a ridiculous one, but I'm going to go with it. MoMA's coming in with a wallet, and they're going sweet. Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we know that, you look, the news came out last year in, I think it was around July, August, that, the MoMA sold off masterpieces. We were talking like Picasso, Renoir. I'm trying to remember.
Renoir. Oh, look how fancy. She's got that
Yeah, I
French.
can't like I can't remember all the names, but these are like masterpieces that they sold off. And why? Because they are losing footprint. It hasn't come back since the pandemic, and they realize that they need to lean into digital more. Whether that means NFTs, we don't know. But what we do know is that they're leaning into digital, metaverse, and having much more of that type of presence. So my prediction is one of those digital footprints will be a wallet, and they're going to come and sweep, and they're going to come and sweep the good stuff, the stuff that we all
Ooh,
know.
I love
They're
it.
not going to go, they're not sweeping pudgy penguins, people. They're going to be sweeping, generative fine art.
They'll be
So
getting those Fidenzas, ringers, a
yeah,
bunch of squiggles,
yeah,
easy peasy. Like they'll buy some X copy stuff. Like, yeah,
all the
that
good
actually
stuff.
makes me really bullish on squiggles, right? Because if a museum's like, oh, what's a iconic piece? Well, hey, a squiggle's only 20 grand versus a Fidenza's 100 grand. Like how big is our budget kind of a thing. I like that prediction. I like that a lot.
The other reason I say it is because they could have actually raised the money from their patrons, and they didn't. They decided to sell masterpieces. And that's the bit where I'm like, why would you sell a Picasso over, just going to your patrons and asking for that money? So I don't have any sort of further clarity around that, but I thought it was a very interesting move, and I hope they're coming into NFTs because we're starting to see some of that traditional collector base from trad art coming into NFTs.
One reason might be because they wouldn't be able to raise money from their patrons for NFTs. Let's be honest, that might be the real reason. But I like that sentiment for sure, and I know like museums are interested. Like I even like. Hey, by the way, I'm unemployed, right? And I was looking around at jobs, and I found a museum that like it was like a random museum, I think, right? That had a job for somebody. It was like a Web3 specialist or something, and they wanted somebody to like learn about Sandbox and like help to integrate Web3 and NFTs into their museum. And the pay was terrible, so I was like, no, no, I didn't even think to apply. But like that idea, museums are very interested.
Yeah.
Very interested. So I mean, I've been chatting with Chris Bennett. He's meeting with museums, and so and they're not small museums either. So I do find a lot of interesting things there. Okay. Any other big predictions from you, Sig, for
Uh,
2023?
I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again because I really think it's going to happen. Art Blocks is going to power a major brand.
Ah, yes,
The
yes, I
Chromey
like
Squiggle
that.
algorithm is going to power a major brand. I'm talking like Disney, something wholesome and just cool. I can't, yeah, but it's going to happen. Art blocks are being aggressive, they're going global, and this is why I still think Chromey Squiggles are undervalued. So that is one of my predictions for 2023.
Oh, I like that. I have a few. I've got a few on my own. I did a little Twitter thread here on some predictions. The, I mean, here's my take. ETH and BTC, I think they just kind of range all year long. I don't think we get a big difference. Do you have any differing opinions there?
We range until the macro becomes better, essentially, when we start to see the Fed just start to sort of ease off a little bit. So I think we range for quite a while, which is great for NFTs.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I think there's an off chance that ETH leads the next bull run, not Bitcoin. Not
Ooh.
saying that's a guarantee, but it's got all the bullish kind of narrative and momentum and just fundamentals behind it, in my opinion. But we'll see. I think that punks might start moving at the end of the year. So, and when punks start to move, that is my signal that the real NFT bull run is upon us. If punks really start to cruise up, um, and then I say that squiggles are going to be 25 to 30 ETH. We're going to see anticyclones, meridians, memories of Qilin. Those are all kind of these mid-tier generative art projects on art blocks. I think they'll all hit an all-time high in ETH terms. I think we're going to see a couple new blue chips from a generative art, maybe one or two. They're going to really kind of bust out. And I think Fidenzas and ringers are going to be flat up until Punk's run in Q4. So those are some of my thoughts. I also think that GMDAO and FX Hash, like between those two, one of them is going to have a massive breakout collection that's like 10 ETH plus. And then that's going to mean that the GMDAO pass, I think that they both actually will, not one of them, but both of them will have a big breakout collection. And so the GMDAO pass, I think, is going to rip at some point. And then once that is all kind of settled down, it's then going to dip really hard. Cypher, the founder, I've had him on the podcast. He was like, I like the first half of your prediction, not the second. So yeah, I could be very wrong on all these. Gaming, this is Sig's favorite subject, the one she told me not to bring up on the show.
No.
I basically said the same thing. I'm like, I'm not qualified. I'm not a gamer. My only thought, my biggest I'm like, look, hard for me to understand like what's going to be sustainable, who's been working on something long enough to build something that matters. I think the most likely scenario is we said it this morning, a big company like, who was it, Square Enix or whatever. Yeah, like they're going to be the breakout hit, and it's just going to be a big game that happens to have NFTs in it, which is great, so I have a hard time knowing how to even invest in the gaming side, so I should probably avoid it. And then I put a Zuki up, Doodles, not sure. Bored Ape Yacht Club, flat. Clonex, flat. Utes, up. Moonbirds, up, obviously. Top project on Sol. Who is here? Oh, what do I say right here? Who's the top project on Sol? It'll be led by Easy Eats Bodega. Okay. It's gonna be led by Easy Eats. I'm very biased. It's called Bodagos now, guys.
Oh yeah, Bodogos.
Bodogos. You would say something like Bodogo, right? And it's really Bodago.
There's like some crumpets, yeah.
Yes. I'll go get some crumpets with my Bodogos, and then let's see top project. I say ETH on ETH. Bored Ape Yacht Club is gonna remain the king, and then we got Azuki is going to establish itself as the clear number 2. I think that's probably what is most likely going to happen. I also here's a question for you. This might be a hard one, but I'm really interested. So I like every year something comes out of a complete left field, right? And this year, I mean, people don't talk about it enough, but Steppen was absolutely massive. Like, I think it was doing more revenue than MetaMask was for a while. It crushed it because everything was in app. And so my prediction is like the thing that comes out of left field, it's going to be an app again. And it's going to be like something where all the activity is done in app. It might not be fitness or anything, but like there's going to be something there that is going to just go crazy, and maybe it's not sustainable. So get in, make your buck and then get out. But that was my prediction in terms of like what happens on the kind of the just, out of left field. But do you have any kind of predictions in terms of, what would be something that would surprise us this year that just comes out of nowhere and does really well?
So I think we've kind of already had it, which was the Donald Trump trading cards over
yeah.
And I actually think you're probably right, but it's not going to happen on ETH. I think we're going to get a completely left field, like more, in fact, we're going to get more left field projects coming out. They won't be dropped on Ethereum because, I think they'll go to a layer 2 scaling solution. And it will be brands and people or individuals that we all like. And we're going to see more and more of this, which is good because it brings in outside money.
I love that. And I totally agree. I think Polygon, like you said, that might be the place to look. And in fact, you could even say that again, right? Like Reddit, I guess that was last year, but their drop on Polygon was massive. Like why
did Manchester United drop on Tezos?
Yeah, which that's an interesting choice, which is awesome. I totally agree with you. I think that's a really good point. Any final predictions for us, Sig? Any final thoughts? Any advice for the degens out there before we let you go? This, by the way, might be a record for my longest podcast because we've been having such a good time. So, and I don't know if you've been checking the comments. The people love us. They absolutely love us.
I'm not even looking. I'm just on our little like secret backstage area.
Oh, that's funny because yeah, we've got a private chat on the stream which I almost never use. But the comments, I tell you, there's like a bunch of people saying we need to come back. We make a good pair. So
my biggest thing for 2020, I guess I've got 3 like a couple of messages. Number one, like please, please, please get a Ledger or a Trezor. I'm going to say Ledger because everybody seems to complain about Trezors. Just security, like you're seeing the hacks come in. You've got this chief operating officer of Artifact being scammed for 17 clones. You've got Crypto Nova, over $1 million was gone. All these phishing attacks are becoming, they're all socially engineered. They're becoming more and more and more sophisticated. All like Nick on the morning show, he clicked a button, his stuff was gone. It's just like, take security seriously because it's real. The attacks are happening, and Ledger are having a great new product come out later this year. The new Ledger, it looks amazing, and it's going to make security so much easier and more smoothless. That would be number one, because the scams are there. Number two, if we go back into a doldrum, just stay active. Like, it doesn't matter if it's not a bull market. There is always money to be made, but that method that is being made will change. And the people who stay anchored to the old ways of making money don't make new money because they don't adapt. It's very much in NFTs, adapt or die, or adapt and stay poor. That's probably the latter. So that would be number two. And number three, expect the unexpected this year. That's what I'm going to say. Like, don't think what made you money before will make you money again, and don't stay so much in the rut. Look for new things, go to new chains, stay curious. If Easy or anyone on the show is talking about some weird chain with some weird drop, go look, go investigate, and that's how you stay on the ball.
Oh, I love that advice. I need to take all of it. And, scared money don't make money. That's been my problem. I've just been scared for a long time. Because, PTSD from, round tripping a large sum of money. And I totally agree. Follow Easy. This guy is like at the top of his game. That nifty portal mint pass for the Bodogos. The Bodogos. I love him. This has been an amazing episode. Thank you so much for joining Signal. Everybody, check out Signal. You probably already know her on Twitter, on the morning show every morning. And you know what? Sounds like we're going to have her back because this has just been so much fun. Everybody, peace out. Another episode of Node Mode in the books. We will catch you later.
Peace.